you can use the DEM that you use for your watershed, or you can go to webgis.com and download a different DEM. Does that make sense to everyone so far? Okay. So remember, we're going to be doing this in ArcScene, and if you don't have ArcScene on your desktop, just hit the Start button, All Programs, ArcGIS, and you should see ArcScene in the ArcGIS folder. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Hey, Tom. I'm going to be talking while you guys are meeting, so no, yeah, it's okay with me if it's okay with you, so just try to ignore me, I guess. Okay, so I have ArcScene open. ArcScene behaves just like ArcMap basically. You've got your Add Data button, your map view, your table of contents. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and load in a, yep.
So how do you get to ArcScene if you're in ArcMap? I can't find it on where you start.
It should be in your ArcGIS folder. You can't get to it through ArcMap. You have to close ArcMap. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to hit the Add Data button. And I'm going to use, you guys remember from the intro course when Unit 7, I think it was, where we used GIS to figure out where landslides were. You guys remember that lab, kind of, in San Bernardino, California? I'm going to use that DEM, okay, just because it's handy for me to use it here. So I'm going to click on that DEM and click Add, and that one's not working. Oh, here we go. Okay, so here's my DEM, okay? And again, this is San Bernardino, California, Unit 7 from the intro course, okay? Now, first thing you'll notice, the Navigate tool in ArcScene, you can click on that, and you can hold the left mouse button down and look around your data. But again, the data's in 2 dimensions, right? There's some things you need to tweak with the data to get it to display in 3 dimensions, okay? So to get the DEM to display in 3 dimensions, we're going to right-click on the DEM. We're going to go to Properties, go to Base Heights, and we're going to do Floating on a Custom Surface. And slow me down if you guys are missing anything. And so Floating on a Custom Surface, and then click OK. And if you kind of use your Navigate tool, you can kind of see, we can see some hills there, right? Hills and valleys, all right? The reason this is working is because whenever you do a 3D world in ArcScene, you have to have data that has an X, a Y, and a Z factor, okay? You know, shape files have an X and a Y, right? They don't have a Z factor in them. They don't have anything that displays elevation, okay? A DEM does, because a DEM is a digital elevation model, okay? Every cell that makes up that DEM is attributed with a number, and that number in this case stands for elevation above sea level, all right? Now you can do some things of this. You can exaggerate the effect, okay? And to do that, just double click the DEM, go back into Base Heights, and you can put this conversion factor in there. Right now it's just at 1, but you could put a conversion factor of 2 in there, and what that does is it multiplies all the elevations by a factor of 2, okay? So if we put a 2 in there and click OK, you can see it exaggerates the hills and the valleys, all right? You can do it even more if you want, like watch if I put in a factor of 5 in there. You can see it really exaggerates it. Okay. Kind of a cool thing to do is go into webgis.com. You can download a DEM of like the Grand Tetons, the area around Jackson, and it's pretty neat the effect you can get. Okay. You kind of got to be careful though. Like this is too much really. We don't need to be exaggerating it that much. So I'm going to go back into my base heights, and I'm going to put a conversion factor of 2 back in there. So I'll just use a conversion factor of 2 for this example. Any questions so far on anything? Okay. So you can put any kind of data you want into your 3D world, ArcScene, and you can set the base heights to the DEM, and it will exaggerate or make anything three-dimensional as long as it's on top of or overlaid by that DEM. Okay. If, like, for example, if you want to put some roads or streams in your 3D world, you can do that, but it has to be on top of a DEM. If any of the roads go outside of this DEM, for example, they won't get converted. All right. So, for example, if I hit my Add Data button and go into that Unit 7 from the intro course, and if I load in, let's see, where's it at? Like I'll load in some roads and streams and schools, okay? Click Add. Now you can see it added all of this data to my ArcScene, but look, it's being displayed in 2 dimensions, right? You can see it's underneath the DEM. So again, what do we need to do to these shape files to fix that? Someone help me out here. Set what?
The shape file, the base height.
Yeah, that's right, the base heights, okay? So, like, we'll double click the roads, go to base heights, remember floating on a custom surface. Make sure you select the DEM, okay? Now remember my DEM is at a conversion factor of 2. So what you want to do if you want to overlay something on top of the DEM is you want to put in a conversion factor of just a little bit above 2. Okay? So for example, I'll put in 2.05. Okay? Click OK, and there's my roads. All right? Pick a different color here. And if you zoom in on this and use your navigate tool, you can see, you can use your pan tool to kind of pan around. You can see the roads. You're going to get some, it does its best to overlay them, but do you see how there's a gap in between the DEM and the roads, like right here? So you can kind of play around with that, scale that number, and maybe I'll try 2.01. And you see how it kind of lowered them? I don't know, did you guys catch that at all maybe? But you can also kind of see that some of the roads are going below the DEM, right? So you're losing some data here. So kind of play around with this number to get it to look the way you want to. Maybe I'll raise it up just a tad. Okay. 2.02. I'll do the same thing with the streams. Again, double click streams, go to base heights, floating on a custom surface. 2.02. Right click on my streams. Okay. So there they are. I'll make these lines just a tad thicker. Color them blue. Okay. Finally, the schools. I'll do the same thing. Again, base heights, set them equal to the DEM, 2.02. And then the neat thing inside of ArcScene is you can start to use some of the 3D symbols that are in there. Okay, so if I double click the little dot underneath schools, and I don't know why they're under the houses, but if you type in the word house and click enter in the symbol selector, you're going to see tons of different buildings that you can use. Okay, I'm just going to pick one that kind of looks like a school here, maybe. And the kind of the weird thing with these 3D symbols is you have to use a large symbol size on these. Like I'm gonna bump this symbol size up to 40. Okay. And so if we zoom in, we can see there's the locations of the schools, okay? And then ArcScene, like I said, they've got tons of 3D symbols that you can use, all right? Any questions so far on anything? Everything makes sense? Okay. I think the first part of the lab, I tell you guys to create a hillshade, right? And you would just I'll kind of let you guys work through that on your own, but you know, you'll go to search, type in the hillshade tool, and you'll use the hillshade 3D analyst, okay? And you can use the DEM to create a hillshade. Well, I'll just go ahead and go do it. So I'll open up the hillshade tool. My input raster is going to be the DEM. I need to tell it where to save this. So real quick, while this tool is open, there's azimuth and altitude. Or what? Can you guys help me out here? What do you think these two options deal with? What is an azimuth? Anyone have any idea? You're on the right track. That's what altitude is. Altitude is the sun's angle. What do you think azimuth is? Any ideas? You guys have no clue? Or do you just not want to talk tonight? What's that? Okay, azimuth. Azimuth means direction. Okay? So, if we're looking at a compass, what direction in degrees is north? In degrees, what direction is north on a compass? What's that? Okay, 0 or 360, right? What direction is east? 90. What direction is south? If east is 90, south is 180. What direction is west? Anyone have an idea? What's 180 plus 90? Okay, 270. All right. So this is in degrees. So azimuth, it says 315. What direction is 315 degrees? Okay. Northwest. So what the hillshade tool does is it simulates a fake light source. Okay. And from that fake light source, it gives the hillshade a different shade of gray, depending on where that light source is hitting the DEM. Okay? So and then altitude means how high above the horizon this light source is. Okay? 0 is looking straight down the horizon. If you're standing out on the ground, that's the horizon. Okay? That's 0. 45 is here. 90 is directly above you. Okay, that would be like if it was at noon. If you wanted to make a hillshade to see where the hills and valleys are at noon, what that would look like, you would put in 90 for your altitude, okay? So we'll go ahead and we'll leave the defaults, click OK. I think my tools, yep, there it goes. Okay, and we have a hillshade. But again, the hillshade is in 2 dimensions. So what do we have to do? We need to fix the base heights, okay? So kind of a neat thing you can do is double click the hillshade, go to the base heights tab, again floating on a custom surface. What are you going to set this to? The DEM, okay? The reason you're always going to set everything to the DEM is because the DEM is what contains that Z value, the elevation, okay? The hillshade does not contain elevation data. The hillshade is now attributed with numbers that mean different shades of gray between 0 and 254. 0 being the color black, 254 being white, okay? And then depending on where that fake light source is hitting the hillshade, the different shades of gray are attributed somewhere in between there, okay? And then, so my DEM was at a scale conversion factor of 2, is that right? Okay, so I'm going to put my hillshade just a little bit below that. So I'm going to put in 1.99, okay? And then I'm going to double click my DEM, so not my hillshade, but my DEM, and go to the display tab, and I'm going to make it, oh, let's just try 45% transparent, okay? And it just kind of gives it a different look. And you can see there's going to be some drawing errors in there. You can see the computer has trouble drawing some of this because there's a lot of information in there, a lot of pixels. And the video card or the graphics card on these machines has trouble keeping up with all of it. So that's why you're going to get these errors as you kind of spin around it. But you can kind of avoid some of that by, like I'll lower the hillshade just a tad on my base height. So maybe I'll put in I'll do 1.9. And that kind of takes care of some of it. And again, you guys will just have to play around with these numbers. Maybe I'll do 1.8. Okay. And then you can change the color on your DEM. You can double click the color ramp there. And maybe I'll just pick a different color here. Okay. You can play around with the different colors. All right. So right now, green is lower elevation. Yellow, red, brown, and white are higher elevations. Okay. Any questions on anything? Doing okay? Okay. If you want to get even more creative, you guys can kind of make your own data. Okay, and I went over this last week, I think, didn't I, Andy? But let's say you want to. Again, you could simulate, locations of buildings, or drawing. I've had people recreate 3D fly-throughs of campus. Okay, and what they did was they put dots on top of each building on campus, and they symbolized each dot with a 3D building that was kind of closely resembled whatever building they were trying to model on campus. But let's say I want to put in some trees up here in the mountains above San Bernardino, okay? So here's what I would do to create my own data to put into ArcScene, all right? I would open up ArcMap, okay? And I'm going to minimize ArcMap, and I'm going to copy the DEM. Okay, so I'm going to right click on this DEM and say copy in ArcScene, and then I'm going to go back into ArcMap and I'm going to right click and say paste layers. Okay, so, and then I'm going to double click this DEM and get rid of the transparency. So I'm going to go into my display tab and make the transparency 0 just so I can see it easier. Okay, and so again, if I want to symbolize some trees that are up here in the mountains, okay, what we need to do is create a shapefile of those trees. All right, remember shapefiles are points, lines, and polygons. So how would we symbolize a tree? What would be best to use? A point, right? Okay, so I'm going to open up Art Catalog. I'm going to go to the folder that I'm working in. I'm going to right click on the folder where I want the shapefile to be saved, and I'm going to say new shapefile. I'm going to call this, I've already got a trees shapefile in there. I'm going to call it trees 2. I'm going to make it a point. I need to give it a coordinate system. How do I know what coordinate system to give it? You can't just leave it blank or unknown. How do I know what coordinate system to give this shapefile? Any ideas? Okay, so I need to cancel out of this, and I need to double click my data frame. And what projection am I in? I'm in NAD 27, that's the datum. I'm in UTM and zone 11. Zone 11 because we're in California, right? Wyoming's 13, 12. So over in California, we're in zone 11, all right? So I need to remember that. Or I can just click this star up here and add it to my favorites. That'll make it easier. Go back to my Unit 7 in Catalog. Again, new shapefile. Point. I'm going to call it trees 2. Yep, there's my projection I need to give it, NAD 27 UTM zone 11. Click OK. The shapefile gets created. It automatically adds it to my table of contents here. I'm going to go into my editor toolbar, start editing. And I'm just going to click in some points to symbolize where the trees are here. Okay. Editor, stop editing. I want to save my edits. All right. I'm going to right click on my shapefile and go to copy. I'm going to go back into ArcScene. I'm going to paste that in there. You can see there's my points that I just created. Now, what do you think? What do I need to do to get this to display correctly? Yep, change the base heights, right? Double click trees 2. Again, base heights, set it to my, what am I going to set it to? Yep, DEM. Set my conversion factor to, what are we at here? 2.02, is that right? Okay, you can see there's the dots there. Double click the dot. In my symbol selector, I can type in tree, yep, just the word tree. You can see there's hundreds of different tree symbols you can choose from. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and pick something here. Okay, so there's my little make-believe forest that I just created. Okay, again, how would you, if you wanted to create ArcScene world of Casper College, what would you do? You would go download the DEM for Casper, right? And then how would you get the buildings inside of ArcScene? Okay, yeah, like get the aerial photo into ArcMap, right? And then what would you do? Right, put dots on top of each building, right? And then you can give each building or each dot a building symbol on whatever kind of building you wanted to use in the symbol selector. Okay? That makes sense to everyone? So you can be in this unit, you can be as creative as you want to. You don't have to use the watershed from your, or the DEM from your watershed unit. You can go to webgis.com and download the DEM for anything, and you can try to create your own 3D world. Okay? All right, how are we doing? Any questions? Okay, final thing I want to go over is flying through, making the fly through. Okay, so to start out, when you start to make your fly through, you need to right click on your DEM and say zoom to layer. Okay, so you need to start at the fullest extent of your DEM, and then you'll see the fly tool up here. Okay. Looks like a picture of a little bird up there next to the navigate tool. And the way the fly tool works is you're going to click on it, left clicking on your mouse. And do you have a mouse with your laptop? I don't know. This might be a little hard if you're just using the pad on your laptop. You can unplug that mouse there if you want to use that. Yeah, you got to get down there on the, it's underneath the... Oh, so it is possible? Okay. Well, when I get done here, if you want to use the mouse, you can. Or I can just let you use this one. Or Clay, the same with you. But left-clicking on the mouse flies you forward. The more you left-click, the faster forward you go. Okay? If you want to slow down, you right-click. The more you right-click, you'll slow down. You'll eventually stop. And then if you keep right-clicking, you'll start to fly backwards. Okay? And then if your mouse has a roller ball on it, if you just want to stop, you can tap that roller ball and you'll just stop right where you're at. Okay? So I'm going to click the fly tool. I'm going to left click. Again, when you left click, it doesn't look like you're going anywhere, but you are going forward slowly. Okay? Again, I'm going to left click more and you're going to start to see I'm going to speed up here. Okay? I'm going to right click to slow myself down, and you just move your mouse around to steer. Okay. Slower you go at first, the easier it is to control. Okay. And again, if you want to stop, you can, I think you can hit escape on your keyboard, or you can tap down on the roller ball. Okay? Any questions with that? Some people have trouble getting used to this. Some people pick it up right away. Just takes some practice to get used to. Okay? If you want to start over, just right click on the DEM, zoom to layer, and you can kind of start over. Okay? Now what I want you guys to turn in for this unit is I want you guys to record whatever world you decide to make with whatever data you decide. I want you to make a fly through and I want you to record it, and you're going to send that recording to me, attach it to an email. Okay? So to record your fly through, you need to have this animation toolbar inside of ArcScene, and if you don't have it in there, go to Customize Toolbars and click on Animation. And then there's a button in here that says Open Animation Controls, and you click on that, and it brings up the play and pause and stop and record options. Okay? So if I'm ready to record a fly through, I'm going to hit the record button. I'm going to grab my fly tool and I'm going to start flying around here. So as I'm flying right now, it is recording my fly through. okay? So let me just fly around here for a second. Get you guys nice and dizzy here. Okay, I'll stop recording. So it recorded everything I just did there. All right. And then if you want to play that back to see what it looks like, you just hit the play button. Okay, and you can see the progress down here in the corner. So it's playing back exactly what it's playing back the last fly through. Okay. You can click this options button here. You can see I recorded 30 seconds worth of a fly through. If you want to speed that up, you can, for example, type in 10 seconds and hit play, and it'll turn that 30 seconds into 10 seconds. Okay. Or you could put in 60 seconds and it would double the length. It would go really, really slow. All right. You can play it once forward and it'll stop, or you can loop it forward and reverse, which means it's going to go forward for 10 seconds. And then when it gets to the end, it's going to go backwards for 10 seconds. And then when it gets to the end of that, it's going to go forward again until you tell it to stop. Okay? So there's some things you can play around with there. Every time you make a new fly through and hit record, it overwrites the last one. Okay, so remember that. Okay, if you record a fly through that you like, what you want to do is you want to go to animation and do a save animation file, and it saves it as an ArcScene animation file. Okay, and put that in your folder where you're saving everything, and you can. If you like that fly through, you can later load it in if you want. So you could click animation and say load animation file, and it will load that fly through back in. All right. So there's two options that I have for you guys to turn this into me. One is to create an animation file, and then you'll attach that animation file to the email in Moodle and send that to me. And because I have the software and the data, I'll be able to play that animation file. Okay? But just so you guys know, if you want to create a fly through and you want to show this to someone that doesn't have the software, okay, like maybe they don't have ArcGIS on their computer, right? You can, once you get a fly through recorded, you can export the animation, and it exports it as an AVI file. So it's just like watching a movie. Okay, so as long as someone has Windows Media Player on their computer, they'll be able to play that movie or that fly through without having the software. Okay, ideally I would like to have you guys export this as a movie and attach the movie to an email, but I'm willing to bet probably for most of you that the movie's going to be way too big in size to attach to the email. So I mean, you can try it and see how big it is and see if the email will let you send it, but more than likely you're going to have to just send me the animation file. Okay? Does that make sense? Any questions about that? But if you want to show this to your friends or your parents or show it to another teacher or something, go ahead and export it as a movie, and you can put it on a jump drive and take it to another computer that doesn't have the software. Okay? And just remember, every time you make a new fly through, if you didn't save the animation file, it overwrites it. Okay? Any questions? Okay. I'm going to put this, let me stop recording here.